And joining me now, we have two Pennsylvania political insiders. We have former Democratic Congressman Conor Lamb. He served areas near Pittsburgh. And former Republican Congressman Charlie Dent. He served areas near Allentown. And just over a week ago, Dent endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, indicating he had voted for her by mail. So, gentlemen, I welcome you both. Conor, before I get to you and this whole investigation, I understand you were on the tarmac greeting the president when he landed there in Pittsburgh. I think you even took a selfie with he and John Fetterman. But give me a sense of the president's plans today, what you know about what he intended to say to the union members there at that Get Out the Vote event, and just overall the sentiments he was expressing to you.
He was about as fired up as I've seen him for quite a while. He's on his way to do two union rallies, one with the laborers and then one with our combined labor council. And, you know, that's his home crowd. Those are the people that he started his campaign with and kind of built his career around. So I know he's excited to see what really are old friends for him because he's been here so many times. But yeah, he came off the plane, you know, talking about places in the country where he feels like the MAGA movement is threatening the right of people to vote. He's very concerned about making sure that each person has the ability to cast a ballot and that it's counted in this election. And I think, like a lot of us, we feel confident that if that happens everywhere, it's going to be a good night for Democrats.
Which brings me to this. The words you're hearing from your sources about this fraud investigation in Lancaster and who might be behind it. Conor, what do you know about this?
I don't know anything concrete. I mean, I certainly have seen the reporting that there was a far right group that was active, supposedly registering voters in that county. But I think we have to, like with any case of accusations, follow the evidence where it leads and kind of see if that turns out to be who it is or someone else. But it doesn't matter which side was doing it. If they broke the law, there needs to be accountability. OK, there's something more new today, and this from federal investigators who are condemning what they say is a fake viral video. It's falsely depicting mail-in ballots being opened and destroyed in Bucks County. Intelligence officials say it was created and then amplified by Russian influence actors. Charlie, what are you hearing about the biggest concern around all this?
Yeah, the situation in Bucks County, it is just that. It seems like it was a Russian manufactured video of mail-in ballots being destroyed. Authorities in Bucks County and elsewhere, federal authorities as well, debunked it rather quickly. So the system worked, just as it's working in Lancaster County, which is a county controlled by Republicans, and the DA and Board of Elections and everybody else are involved there. And so I'm actually pleased by the way officials have responded to these two very significant incidents in Pennsylvania. It's showing that the system is working, but we should all be on guard that the Russians are out there again, trying to meddle in our elections and somehow, try to discredit the integrity of our election process.
And in fact, Pennsylvanians, they are certainly already voting via absentee and mail-in ballots. We have more than 1.2 million ballots already cast. This out of a total of more than 1.9 million approved so far for that. So, Conor, does it give you any sense of who's winning, who's losing? Is there any inside line on this?
No, I don't think so. And that's because mail-in voting is still pretty new in this state. So there's no real benchmark to judge it against. Obviously, the Republicans have had a lot of success registering voters and getting more people to cast early votes than they did before. But I think in general, people feel around here like it's a total jump ball. So I think if there was any intel or sign I'm looking at, it's the incredible surge in canvassing, phone banking, all of that on the ground work that happens in the last 10 days that, it might not make up for a 5 percentage point deficit. But if we're within 1 point, like we think we are, that could make the difference on election night.
So, Charlie, there in your state, as of October 21st, you have 3.9 million registered Democrats, 3.6 million registered Republicans, just over 1 million voters with no affiliation, and 346,000 listed as other. So let's try to do the math here. Is there one party that has an advantage there in Pennsylvania?
Not really. Republicans have been closing the registration gap now for some time, and it's down to about 300,000, as you just pointed out. So neither party has a significant advantage. And in fact, and even looking at the mail-in ballots that are coming in, you just showed those numbers too. In 2020, Democrats were voting by about a 3-to-1 ratio by mail, more than Republicans. And this time, Republicans have cut that margin down to about a 2.1 margin based on the most current data as of yesterday. So this is really, it really, I think, as Conor said, this is kind of a jump ball right now. Nobody's really sure how this is going to play out. Anybody who tells you if they know how Pennsylvania is going to vote, it really is, I think, blowing smoke, because I've never seen an election quite like this one. But I do think the Democrats have a stronger ground game in the state, from what I've seen, more organized on the ground. Charlie Kirk's group, Turning Point, is a group that the Trump campaign outsourced their ground operation to. And I'm not here to say that they're doing a good job or a bad job, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of them.
Interesting. Conor, here's another fascinating stat I want to share. More than 68,000 Pennsylvania voters switched from Republican and other to Democratic, and then more than 100,000 switching from Democratic and other to Republican. How are Democrats planning to mitigate these numbers? Does having a Democratic governor change the equation? Does it maybe help turn out strategy?
I didn't realize you were going to make us do so much math today, Alex.
Sorry. Should have you guys bring your calculators.
I would say, first of all, it's nothing new in Pennsylvania. We've known for a long time that there were registered Democrats who were already voting like Republicans, and I think now they've just made the switch complete. But for example, when I first was elected to Congress, Trump had won my district by 19 percentage points. 19 percentage points in favor of Trump, but it was still a majority Democratic district by registration. So it shows you people were voting differently. But I think when you see Vice President Harris doing her event with Liz Cheney in Pennsylvania this week and clearly messaging toward, people like Charlie, frankly, who might not have voted for her in the past, but are this time, that's how she's making up part of the gap. She knows who the people are who might turn to her. And it's really a country over party message, which a lot of us can get behind.
Okay, Charlie, no numbers in this question, but I do want to pivot to Georgia because NBC News quoted the lieutenant governor there, Jeff Duncan, saying because of peer pressure, some Republicans are reluctant to publicly support Kamala Harris, adding that there may be a whisper caucus that might lead to more Republicans voting for Harris than are openly saying. You voted for the vice president. Of course, you're saying so, but do you sense similar sentiments among Republicans in Pennsylvania?
The answer is yes, and true. I think there are a lot of Republicans out there who are going to quietly cast their votes for Kamala Harris or not vote for president at all. I think many are reluctant to go public because of all the peer pressure. And by the way, as Conor just pointed out, in Pennsylvania, people are now they are aligning their voter registration with their voting patterns. Out where Conor lives, out in the western part of the state, we had a lot of Democrats out there who were functional Republicans. And just like we have in the southeastern part of the state, we had a lot of Republicans who were functional Democrats. What's happening is people are aligning their registrations or voter registrations with their voting patterns. So make no mistake of that. That's happening.
Okay. So the latest polling, obviously a dead heat. First to you, Conor, what are you going to be watching election night in Pennsylvania? Which city, which county will give you the biggest clue about how this race will go?
I think the two obvious counties to look at are Erie and Northampton. Neither is that large, so my hope is a lot of their votes will be counted relatively early, and both are really historically bellwether 50-50 type of counties. So, if they're really close on election night, it might not tell us that much, but if one candidate sort of exceeds expectations in either or both of those, that's going to tell you a lot about what's going to happen.
And Charlie, what about you? What are you going to be most concerned about election night? And do you have a sense of how long it's going to take for a winner to be declared in Pennsylvania?
Well, I agree with Conor. I'm watching Northampton and Erie counties, especially Northampton County, which I represented. Classic bellwether state. Whoever wins that county is probably going to win the Commonwealth and probably win the presidency. But what I'm going to watch for on election night is to see what type of a discrepancy there is in the election day vote. We expect Donald Trump to be ahead on election day. The question is, will there be enough mail-in votes for the Democrats to surpass him? So that's what I'm watching, and it's going to take a little bit of time. I don't think it'll take 4 or 5 days to count all those mail-in ballots like we saw in 2020. We didn't finish until Saturday, if you recall. This time, because I think there will be fewer mail-in ballots, and I think we will be, they'll be ready and working even quicker this time. So I'm hoping they'll have those things done within a couple of days, but I'm not expecting that we will have an outcome to announce on Tuesday night.
Okay, Congressman, both of you, former congressmen, thank you so much. And you guys both get an A in both poli-sci and math. It was great chatting with you, and I'll see you again. Thank you.